Hello everyone. Hope everyone doing just fine today. Just hit that like button, guys, so I know how many people are in the chat. Just send me a comment so I know how many people are there today. Just sort out this audio quickly. Okay, today we have Holden Cruise. We got some issue with the airbag. Okay, we got, let me see, we got 2 people watching. Let's just wait for a few more people to join in. It's always fun when there's few people. Okay, I got 4 likes. Thank you for the likes. Because someone tell me how's my audio. It sounds very different today. If anyone can comment how's my audio, that would be good. Okay. Okay. Just give it a couple of minutes. We got a good class coming up today, guys. I am a little bit sick, so if my voice is different today, I apologize. I might got some flu, I think. So if I start coughing, just apologize, you guys, in advance. Okay, we got a comment from John. John, hello John, how are you today? What year model Cruise audio is good? Thank you, John, for that confirmation. It's an older one, so I think it's about 2003 model, 3-4 model, the older Cruise. They kind of look like a Suzuki as well. I think the Suzuki Ignis or Vitara are the same car as well, I believe, John. So it's a little bit older model. It's got a communication issue, so no communication to the scan tool. Airbag lights coming on the dash, so that's what's happening with this car, John. Okay. Alright, please do comment, guys, if you guys are watching, so I know who else is in the chat. We will have interactive class again, like every time we do. Okay. Anyway, I will start the diagnosis, so I'll take it to the car now. So we just basically have an airbag light coming on the dash. So no communication with the engine airbag. Okay, that's the problem. so I'll just show you quickly the airbag fault here, right? Let's just start with that. So if I start the car, the car is a little bit noisy. I think it's got some other issues. The belt or something is noisy under the bonnet, but that's not what it's here for. Okay, so you can see maybe right there the airbag, not that one, that right in the middle, it says airbag, so the airbag light stays on constantly. Alright, that's what we're dealing with today. Alright, and I'll just show you the communication with my scan tool, right? So we go and select Holden Cruise. It's a 2003 or 4 model, doesn't matter, 3 is fine. And it's a YZ Cruise. Okay, you can't find the cruise up here. If you look down here, you'll see the YZ Cruise. Okay, that's what it's called, YG Cruise. Okay, next we'll just go OK, and let's just do a fault scan. I'll quickly show you one problem with the older vehicle here. This might be a quick tip for you guys. Let that scan. Okay, see, it's not scanning any of my computers. It's a manual gearbox, but it says automatic on the number 2 there. It's manual, doesn't matter. So I'll fault scan again. It doesn't want to scan. So basically it doesn't want to scan, guys, right? I'll just quickly read this chat. Person says, sorry, I'm late to the school. Okay, I think he's talking about this school. No worries, person. No, we haven't really started yet. We are about to, so you haven't missed much. Really, we're trying to diagnose the airbag, no communication fault today, right? Alright, let me take you back to the scan tool. So no communication. Sometimes when you do auto scan like that, you might get no communication fault. Okay, so this is not very uncommon. I have seen it with a lot of older vehicles. So don't worry about it too much if you don't have any communication like that. Sometimes all you got to do is go to the control unit individually, one at a time. Let's try the engine control module now and see. You can communicate now, right? No problem there. It doesn't have a transmission control module, it's a manual. So if you want to go to the chassis or body, chassis, let's try ABS module, right? So you can communicate, no problem there. Sorry, this one maybe doesn't have ABS. Maybe electric power steering. See, it communicates for us. Right, so let's go back to the body, which is our problem. And airbag, we do not have a communication here. All right, this is what I was told by the other mechanic who brought the car to me anyway. So definitely looks like we don't have a communication. So see what I mean, guys? So if you do auto scan, it does not want to scan. So sometimes you, before you assume there's an issue with this network or whatever, always best to check with the control unit individually, or maybe sometimes you can go to OBD system and maybe try it that way as well to confirm that we do or do not have communication, right? Okay. Alright, let's go back to my scan tool now, and let's go to body, airbag, that's what we're dealing with. So no communication. This is where we at, guys. Okay, no communication. I cannot go into the airbag control module. So this is where we at, guys. Person, John. Alright, let's see where you guys want me to do. What's next? What do you guys think we should do now? This is where we at. And to be honest, I kind of know what the problem is. I'll tell you at the end how I know what the problem could be, but let's just pretend like I don't know just yet, okay? So, because we're going to do a class where everyone can understand the networking and all that stuff. So that's my intention today. We do have, let me see how many people. We do have 4 people watching. So I know Prasanna is in the chat. John is in the chat. So who else is there? Can you please comment so I know who else is watching? It's always good to know. Alright guys, what do you guys think I should do next year? What do you guys would do if this car come to your shop? What do you guys do next? Alright, we got no communication right there. Okay. I think check the airbag fuse. Yeah, good point. That's a quick and easy way to tackle sometimes if the fuse box is accessible. Obviously, if you got the fuse box diagram where it tells you exactly where all the fuses are, definitely that's not a bad idea. Check powers and grounds. Powers and grounds, where should we check, Prasanna? Do you mean check power and ground at the control module? Right? Now, I do have a problem with checking powers and ground straight away, depending where the module is. If the module is accessible right there, just under one cover or whatever, I don't mind going straight to the module. That will skip all the process to check your fuse and everything. That's fantastic. But sometimes the module is not as accessible like as we want it to be, right? So, yes, but let's start with the basic. Let's say in this case the module is hard to get to, all right? So I think I'll go with what John has suggested. Let's check the fuse, number 1, because the control module gonna need power and grounds to work, right? Without power and ground, control module is not going to wake up to produce any communication. Okay, let's do that. I'm gonna go find the fuse and let's do a quick test on the fuse, right? Alright, so it's somewhere here, I believe the fuse box is on the Holden Cruise. Okay, alright, so we do have a little layout there for the fuse box, right? I'm trying to find the airbag fuse here. So right here it says airbag 15 amps. Sometimes we may have multiple fuse for airbag, sometimes only one fuse, right? So I don't see any other fuses here. Looks like we're only dealing with one fuse right here. So I'm gonna go and check my fuse for airbag 15 amps. Okay, it's a little bit hard to get in there, so I'll just check and I'll verify and I'll let you know, guys, is whether it's good or not. Alright, always best to use a test light to check the fuses. I like it that way anyway, it's pretty simple and quick, right? So battery negative, my test light, and then we're going to look for power on the fuse. Obviously make sure the ignition is turned on. So I'm going to go and find that fuse number, fuse 15 amps. I don't know what number it is, but fuse 15 amps. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but my test light is lighting up, so we know our fuse is good. Okay? Alright, our fuse is good, guys, so where should we go next? Okay, Prasanna says, I mean after the fuse checks. Yeah, true. So fuse is good. There's nothing wrong there. We have no communication issue, right? Fuse is good. Now, should we go straight to the module, right? Josh just joined in. Hello, Joshua. How are you? How's your day, brother? Give me a thumbs up, guys. Give me a thumbs up. Click that like button. Okay, Joshua, we're dealing with a no communication on a airbag module on a Holden Cruise 2004 model. This is a little bit older model. Okay, that's just a quick revisit what we're doing here. All right, what should we do next, guys? Okay, check the fuse. Fuse is good. No problem with the fuse. Okay, so like a person has suggested, let's check the powers and grounds at the module, right? Person also says also check the airbag communication line visual check. Okay, visual check. How do we do that visual check, Prasanna? You need to elaborate a little bit. Do you want me to just look at the wiring? Is that what you're saying? Right? Okay, so let's go to the module. I have already taken the covers and everything off under that center console, so we can get through it really quickly. John says the scanner communication with airbag module in pin 2 of the OBD connector. It is easy to look for some activities in pin 2. Yeah, pin 2 we can do that too. Okay, so before we do that, why did you assume it's a pin 2? I know, but the other audience might not know. Why did you already assume pin 2 on the OBD2 connector? Can you elaborate on that so everyone can understand where you're coming from? I kind of know where you're coming from though. John's comment, that was the scanner communicates with airbag module in pin 2 of the OBD connector. It is easy to look for some activities in pin 2. Why did you already assume that's pin 2? Maybe the other audience want to know. Okay, all right, so before we do that, should we get to the module? Right, so I'll quickly show you where the module is anyway. I'll come back to the comment here. All right, so just right inside the car here. Okay, I have already taken the plastic covers and everything around that gear stick where the module kind of sits, right? So it's gonna be a little bit difficult for me to show you guys everything here, I believe. I'll try. Okay, let me set this camera up and I'll come back to you guys. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to do this with my hand because I can't really get my tripods in there easily. Anyway, so basically usually the airbag module kind of sits in the center of the car on the floor, right? So right there you can see the module. Right there is your module. It's gonna be a little bit difficult for me to keep the camera on there and show you guys everything, but I'll try my best. So right here we got my module, looks like an airbag module, right? There's a connector at the back here, yellow. Usually they will have a yellow wraps or the yellow connector on them. Okay, so that's where we're at. It's a little bit hard to get to, a little bit hard to do the testing, but let's see what we can do here. Alright guys, okay, Prasanna. John says the wiring diagram. Okay, good. I haven't looked at the wiring diagram yet, but that was very quick. No problem there. Visual check. Prasanna says add airbag module for water damage crusty connectors. Okay, we can do that too while we're there. So what I think we should do is we should just get the powers and grounds out the way. That would be the first thing to check on the control module. Maybe communication, right? We can also do the communication. Maybe John can chime in and tell me exactly what color wire and what pin on that connector is my communication for that airbag. We can do that too if John can help us. I haven't checked the wiring diagram yet, so I will get there, but John is ahead of us. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go and check the powers and ground. Now, usually, okay, this is not always the case, but usually you'll have one ground and one power supply for the airbag module. Okay, one ground and one power supply for the airbag module. Now, which wire it is, I don't know, right? But let's figure out that first. Which wire are we testing for powers and ground? Okay. Okay, now I'll show you the website I've introduced to you the other day, right? I didn't find any wiring diagram on order data, so let's not even bother. I have already looked into it. So let's try the website I was talking to you the other day. So I'll take you to the board and we'll try here. Okay, so basically we're gonna go to my cardiag.com or whatever that was the other day, right? So this is a very helpful wiring diagram, guys. Okay, you can keep a note for this, cardiag.com. Okay. I couldn't find anything on order data, like I said. So here, if you go under Holden, you might not find it because it's not really, I don't think it's really a Holden car, to be honest. There is no Holden Cruise here, I see, right? So try Suzuki. Suzuki is the same car, I know that. Suzuki Ignis, I believe it's a Ignis, yeah. So let's try that. We got Ignis electric wiring diagram, maybe try that. Yeah, this website is full of ads and all these pop-ups, but it's free anyway, so I don't mind. Nothing there. We need to download that particular link. So maybe here. Okay. This one. Maybe that one there. Let's try that. Okay, sometimes on this website, if you guys see this red up here, the red with it says invalid or corrupted PDF file, all you guys do is go up there and just hit the enter again, refresh that page again, and usually it loads up itself again. I've had that few times, that issue with this website. Look at that. Alright, now let's go and find our airbag. Maybe just try here. Airbag, let's see if that brings up our there's just too many airbags. It doesn't look like this is even English. Okay, that doesn't look like English, but doesn't matter for wiring diagram. We don't think we need to know if it's in English or not. Doesn't really matter. Okay, let's go down to some wiring diagram. There you go. We got power supply diagram. Let's just scroll through. Let's see what we find here. Okay. Keep going. Fuse box, charging, immobilizer, ignition, AC, seat heater, combination mirror, headlight, fog light, illuminating light, brake light, clock, power steering, airbag. There you go. Airbag system. Alright, it's pretty simple circuit here, guys, right? Airbag, 15 amps fuse. On that fuse box we have already verified. There is another fuse here for the dash light, for the airbag light on the dash. We know the airbag light on the dash is coming on, so we're not worried about that at all. So airbag main power feed comes on pin 32, the red wire. Okay, down here everything else is just the components, airbags, maybe crash sensors. There's a couple of components there, and on pin 28 is my pin 28 is my communication line. On pin 7 it says, I'm not sure how accurate that is, but we'll find out. Maybe John can correct me there. Okay, that's it. That's all we have for airbag wiring. Everything else is just a component. We got the black wire coming from the ground all the way to the module. That's for the ground supply for the module, right? And we got the 15 amps fuse supplying 12 volt power to the module. So let's check that power and that ground at the module, and we are pretty much left with just the communication. Alright. Alright, John says pin 17 black wire is ground. In my case it doesn't. I think I got the wrong wiring diagram, but the power and ground should be pin 4 is a red wire, power supply, okay, and 17 is a black. Let's go and find the pin 4 and pin 17, black and red color wire for my powers and ground. Okay. Okay, this is a one-man operation here. I don't know how I can hold the camera and everything at the same time. I'll try. Bear with me guys, I'm trying to figure this camera out. Alright, right here we got the airbag module. I'm gonna just turn the key off real quick. Right, and just disconnect that plug. I can't really see too much there. Tight plug. There you go. This plug is disconnected. Let's have a look what we got here. We got, I can see a red wire there, bunch of other wires, and we got a black wire. So let's test the black for the ground and that red wire for the power. Okay, I'm gonna have to turn the ignition on obviously for the power, more than likely. May not be true. It could have power all the time on ignition off as well, we don't know, but let's just turn the key on anyway. Alright, I might just go from the back here gently on that red wire. I got power on that red wire guys. Okay, power is getting to the module. Let's check the ground. I'm going to need some power supply for my test light for checking the ground. Alright, the black one is my ground. It's at the bottom. Sorry about the shaky camera because I'm doing it one hand here. Okay. So when I find a ground, my test light will light up, right? So let's try that ground quickly. There you go, the ground is good on that black wire. Okay, looking at the car, looks like very rusty. You can see all the metals, everything is rusty here. Maybe this module is a water damage, right? Looks very, very rusty. Okay, alright, that's where we're at. Alright, that was a little bit of struggle, but we got the powers and ground checked on my connector there. We got some comments here. Pinward ground. Okay, ground and power supply is good guys. Okay, communication is on pin 7, not pin 2, my mistake. Okay, pin 7, not pin 2. Okay. We'll see about that. John says I'm using the Holden light vehicle DVD. That's for John Prasanna's comment, I think. Okay, so we got the powers and grounds. Now where do we go next, guys? Powers and grounds is good. We can see a little bit of a water damage there. So where should we go next, guys? Oh, right now I think where we're gonna go probably is a communication. Right, so we're gonna have to find the wire at the module maybe and then tap into that while it is connected to the airbag module, right? We can do that if we know exactly which pin is my communication on that module. So let me go back to that wiring diagram again and let me see. So according to this diagram I got here, my communication line that goes to my OBD plug right here, data link connector, looks like is number P, blue wire with the pin 28 on the module. Let me just quickly go and browse that. Okay, so it's hard to see. It's hard to see here, but pin 28. I do not have a 28 pin here. This plug is only 20 pin plug. Doesn't have 28, so that's not going to help us, right? Pin 28. There's a few blue wire there, so I do not want to tap into the wrong wire because it's an airbag system. So let's just verify that. John, if you know which pin is my communication at the module, that would be great, because there is only 20 pin in this module. There's no 28. Okay, so definitely this wiring diagram maybe not correct for this car. Obviously this is not Holden Cruise, this is Ignis, and there's nothing on order data. I can double check that. So anyway, if John can verify which is, otherwise we'll move on. We'll move on to a different approach here. All right. So what's the other mechanics done? The mechanics who had this car before me, they told me to diagnose the car, but what they've done is they provided me with a new ABS airbag module already. So I already have a second-hand airbag module here. We can quickly put that in and let's see what happens. Okay, we do have the part, but if I had the wiring diagram, I'll probably check some communication there at the module, and then if the communication is good, powers and grounds is good, we're done. We just throw a new module at it most of the time, right? So maybe let's do that. I'll get it out and then we'll put the new module in and then see what happens. John says pin 14 blue wire. I'll go and double check that quickly. I do have a blue wire there, okay? We can do that quickly if you want. I do have a blue wire on the pin 14. So I'm just purely going by what John is saying. I don't have the wiring diagram. All right, let's do that quickly, see what the communication looks like anyway. Okay? Again, this is a one-man operation, so let me set everything up here. Okay. I'll just get my scope up. Set that 20 volts. Okay, all right. So this is my channel A on my scope. All right, let me find a ground for my scope. And I'm gonna go on pin 14 without my module connected, for now anyway. All right, pin 14 I'm tapped into, right on the connector, right? Just on pin 14, my channel A. And we got flat line 12 volt. Let me just change that time real quick. Let's go 1 second. Okay, now there is only 12 volt. Usually we may need to activate the communication line. Sometimes you can't just put it on and have the communication ready to rock and roll on the older, especially the older system. You need to send some command or communication ping from our scan tool, right? So what I'm trying to say is there is 12 volt. I don't know if it's the right wire or not. First of all, let's see what happens there. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes there will be no communication on the older vehicle. So what you have to do is from the scan tool, trying to communicate with that module, and then you'll see some kind of communication getting to it or coming out of it, whatever the case is. In this case, we have no communication. So let's try that using the scan tool, and let's see what kind of communication we got on the scope. So basically, let's go and try to communicate the airbag, right? And let's go see what's there you go. As soon as I start the scan tool communication, you can see I got some activities on that communication line. Okay, so let's go again. I'll hit the airbag communication on my scan tool, and let's go back to my scope, and you can see the communication is there. Okay, I'll just go and pause it. I'll do it one more time. So we'll have a little bit of more communication here. All right, that's enough. I'll just go and pause that. Okay, let me go back, and you can see we got communication is going from 12. It's going from 12, almost battery voltage, down to almost, not quite 0 volt, but almost 0 volt. Okay, just above 0 volt. So we got communication happening. So this is what it looks like. This is not a CAN bus system. This is an older system. I think, okay, this is a variable pulse width type, possibly. Okay. Or is it a K-line type? Is it a K-line or VPW communication? This is an older system, okay? This is not CAN bus, all right? All right, we do have a communication, right? Okay, so the signal, the communication is going from 12 volt, flat line when it's not communicating, and then it will drop down to like a square wave, okay, almost square wave, drop down to almost 0, not quite 0, almost 0 volt. That's your data transmission there. You can see happening when you send a ping with your scan tool, okay. Sometimes, like I said, you have to activate the system with the scan tool. You know, sometimes there's a standby and does nothing. Okay, and John, thank you for that. Blue wire is definitely my communication wire there. Prasanna says, warning, some airbag blow if you move or rotate the module even if the key is off. Yes, that's true. That's very true. That's why they bolt it onto the flat surface in the middle of the car. So every time you want to take it off, make sure the battery is off, connector is off, discharge the system, whatever not. Okay, you got to take that safety precaution. Sometimes they have capacitors that stores charge. A lot of the manufacturer says leave the key off, battery disconnected for half an hour. That's the normal sort of instruction from the manufacturer to disable the charge from the capacitor. Sometimes even if the battery is disconnected, the capacitor could be enough charge to blow your airbag if you do something wrong. So that's definitely something we can apply when we're doing the testing on airbag system. Okay, now where do we go next, guys? Okay, this is what we got. We got communication happening. It looks like it could be a K-line communication, it could be a VPW, one or two, because a lot of old GM vehicle, this is Suzuki or GM, whatever you want to call it, they do use a lot of those VPW, variable pulse width system for communication back in the days. Could be that, could be K-line, I'm not too sure. But you said if coming on pin 7 usually means K-line. VPW usually is on pin number 2, I believe, on the OBD plug. We'll double check that anyway. John says the module has power ground and communication, the airbag module may be faulty. That's what I'm thinking. Like I said, I have a second-hand airbag module, the other mechanics given it to me. They thought it is the module, but they just wanted me to double check anyway. So that's where we're at. So next, let's go and put my second-hand module that I got here, right? And let's see where that takes us to. Okay. Prasanna says, I agreed with John. All right, the new module coming up, guys. Alright, that's my second-hand module they provided with me. This is an older system. I don't think they need programming or whatnot, right? There's a couple of bolts on that module, right? Do not disconnect, do not take the bolts off you know, the connectors connected. Do not take this off without disconnecting the connector at least, or the, you know, power supply to it. Okay, sometimes you can cause airbag to blow if you tilt this like this. Okay, they need to be flat like this on the surface. The reason some modules will do that, because they will have a rollover sensors, so when the module is rolling like that, the sensor obviously gets triggered, right? And the sensor thinks the car is rolling, but we're only rolling the module. That can sometimes cause airbag to come off. Not all cars has that, but we don't know which car is going to have it, which car is not going to have it, so we're not going to take that chance. So let me just swap that module real quick, and then we'll see what happens with the communication. Okay, I'm just going to get some tools and undo these bolts here. Before I connect the new module, I'll just leave the key off just in case. Right, so that's my module out. I think my camera is upside down, but never mind. Alright, we got the module out here, and I'm just visually looking at it if you can see, because I do see a lot of rust under there on the metal, so maybe some water damage or whatever not. And guys, I can definitely see there's a lot of rust and corrosion just on that gap. So I'm not gonna open it. Looks like it's got some water damage. Okay, alright, we're gonna put the new one in anyway. Definitely bolt that down on the chassis first, on the body first, before you connect the connector, just to be safe, right? I'll just put 1 or 2 bolts for now and finish the job later. Alright, that's bolted up into the body on the floor there. Let me just connect the connector now. Boom. Okay, let's go and see what happens. All right, new module bolted up, connected. Let me turn the key on and let's go to the scan tool. Okay, nothing's blown up so far, which is good. All right, let me go to the scan tool now. and go back to airbag. Boom, we got communication, trouble codes. Let's see. No trouble codes, live data. Boom, everything's working just fine. Okay, that's it. Needed a new airbag module, and it's a second-hand module. They just plug and play. Don't need to program, none of that. Calibration, none of that stuff. Okay, everything is working, guys. We got communication. Okay. So that's it. That's the diagnosis on our control module. So what did we learn? Check your powers and ground. Check your communication. If everything is there, visual inspection, obviously, right? We saw some rust under that floor there, under the center console. Definitely that was an indication there could be a water damage. And what else? And luckily, the mechanic gave me the second-hand module, so that makes our life even much easier. But not all the time you're going to have all the parts readily available at the shop, right? So sometimes you're going to have to get into deeper diagnosis to 100% make sure it is the case, because module's not cheap. We don't want to put a module and find out it's, you know, we made a bad call. Okay, all right, that's it, guys. What do you guys thoughts on that? Any comments? Any suggestion where I did go wrong? I could have done something differently. What do you guys think? Prasanna says, you said boom, okay? I thought it had exploded. No, boom, as in boom. Voila, or whatever you call it, magic. Anyway, so that's what it is. Now, today, I've been thinking about this for a while. I do wanted to do some whiteboard, not class, just I want to talk about communication. If you guys interested on learning about communication on automotive, right, all different types of communication and CAN bus and, you know, FlexRay and whatever not, you can stick around. I'm going to make a video soon after this, right, because we know the car's fixed, so we're not worried about that, but we can combine the communication issue we had today with the theory class today, if you guys want to see that. If not, that's fine. I'll let you guys go, but I'll still do the video anyway about the communication. John says, well done. No problem. Thank you, John. It wasn't very difficult, especially, you know, it's an old system and a lot of the things were pretty accessible. Modules and everything was pretty accessible. Actually, the module was already off. The covers, everything was already off anyway, and I had the second-hand module, made life very easy. Now, yeah, like I was saying, communication, vehicle communication, networking class. Okay, let's call it a class anyway. If you guys want to know, yeah, let's do it if you want, right? I do have a little picture or a little file that I have made. I wanted to make a class anyway, so I was building that little pies where I combine everything in it. Important stuff as a mechanic you need to know about the communication. Okay, I'm not going to go into too detail because we don't need to know the details of it. I'm just going to touch through only as much information as we need as a technician. That's it. Okay, because we are not engineers, we don't need to get into how it does it, where it does it. That's not our problem. Okay. Prasanna says people like this kind of short diagnosis classes. Yeah, but you don't know what you're gonna get. Sometimes when you think it's a short diagnosis, it turns into a day job. You know, sometimes when you think, oh, it's gonna be difficult, and it turns into a 5 minutes diagnosis. So, you know, literally, if I were to do this diagnosis without the camera, probably pews, powers, ground, communication, change the module, maybe 15 minutes I would be done here. But we're doing a YouTube, so I want everyone to understand, whoever watching, or in the future people whoever wants to watch and learn about stuff like this, it might help them, that's all. Okay, John says I stay. Yes, please. Okay, I'm gonna quickly go get some water. Give me few minutes, guys. I'll be back and we maybe start doing some theory, get into the CAN bus or all the networking system in the car. Okay, John Foster, keep up the good work, man. Very happy you're still doing this. Josh Foster. Oh, Josh Foster, thank you for the $20, man. Oh yeah, okay, that's my dinner tonight, guys. $20, woohoo, take away. Josh, thank you, Josh. Thank you so much. All right, give me a couple of minutes, guys. I'll be back, get some water, you know, quickly set up my equipments, whatever not, and we get into the communication line. I can still see there are about 6 people watching. Give us a thumbs up, man. Give us a thumbs up. That always helps with the YouTube algorithm, right? And you guys can chime in and comment. Let me know who is watching so I can interact and, you know, we go through this together. Joshua, brother, I hope you're still in the chat. We're going to get into, actually Josh was asking me the other day, let's do the communication networking class. So this is coming right up now. Okay. Prasanna says, thanks Josh for your generosity to Josh Foster. Thank you, Josh. All right, I'll be back, guys, very, very quickly. Alright guys, I'm back. Sorry, I took longer than a few minutes, but anyway. Okay, so the second class in session tonight, guys. You guys want to call it a class? I don't like to call it a class. I just like to call it just fun night, diagnostic night. Okay, so Prasanna says, hey, if you comment in other automotive channels, you can get more like-minded people here. Yeah, I really don't know how to do it, guys. I'm not very on social media that much like that, but I'm trying to see what I can do. You guys can help me, obviously put the words out if you like. Okay, so now for this communication, this is a very good tool. Not important, but very, very good tool. This is only a cheap one. I think I bought it for $40 on the internet. They do the same job anyway. Basically what it is you connect this to your OBD plug. It loops around, gives you all the pins on the OBD plug, and then you can also hook up your scan tool on the other end. So you can have the scan tool and the breakout box. It's called OBD plug, OBD connector breakout box. That's the name for it. You can look for it, $40-50 you can buy. If you want to buy a good brand, maybe a few $100s, but Chinese one does work. However, I do have a little bit of issue with this one. If you look here, how they put all the numbers and label everything, right? It's not correct. So here, it should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But what they've done is they made a mistake and they went from 1, 2, 3, 4 this way. So it doesn't matter as long as we know what we're doing. So I did put some markers here saying what number is what, but anyway, just be careful with that. Sometimes cheap Chinese ones may not have all the labels on the right places, but it is what it is. I didn't want to spend too much money because I don't really use this that much, but I'll shoot one day, I guess. Alright, can someone just chime in and tell me my audio, video, everything looks good so far? So we can continue here. Okay. Okay, we still got 4 or 5 people watching. Not bad. Okay, guys, just give me yes or no for my video and audio still coming good, and we can start on the second class in session. Okay. So while you comment that, I'll just go and hook this up into the car, basically. Alright, that's pretty basic here, guys. Nothing really difficult. So one plug will go to your OBD down here. If I find it, right there. So as soon as you plug it in, you'll see all the lights and everything coming up here, and you can hook up your scan tool onto the other loom there coming out of the breakout box. Okay, guys. Okay, I don't know how good that camera is gonna pick that up, but I'll try my best. Okay, so the breakout box, you can see it's got a little meter there, shows you the voltage level. I'm sitting about 11 volt. The car is, the ignition has been on for a while, so that's battery voltage showing there on the meter. And on the OBD plug, you're always gonna have pin 16. Is always going to have battery positive. You can see the LED lighting up there. Pin 4 and 5 always going to have ground here, signal ground and the chassis ground. My green LED is lighting up there as well, you guys can see. Okay, not only that, when you communicate here, so if I turn the key off and back on, sometimes if there is a communication, the LED and this different numbers, different terminals here, they will start flashing as well, so that way you also know that there is communication, and on which pin the communication is coming. You can also quickly verify that by flashing LED lights on this breakout box. Okay, not all breakout box gonna have that LED lights functionality like this one, but doesn't really matter. This one has it, so I just wanted to quickly show you that. Okay, that's what it is. Prasanna says I'm fine with the audio and video, which is good. John says fine with the audio video. Dylan says your mic is not the best. Thank you so much, Dylan. This is what I got, so maybe in the future I will buy better mics. Okay. Josh said audio is not the best today. Okay, so can you tell me what is what's the problem so I can try to fix it here? Let me quickly do that. Is it not loud enough or okay? Let me just double check that audio. Okay. Is it too loud? Okay, I'm just gonna lower the volume down a bit. That might help you guys. Is that better now, Josh? Okay, I think we're gonna have to keep going here. Maybe next time I'll fix it, but Josh says that's heaps better. Thank you, Josh. Okay, that's good. That's good. Let's carry on here. All right, so basically you can see the breakout box, right? What I'll do is I'll quickly try to communicate with my scan tool, and you'll see some flashing light on this breakout box. Okay, I don't know how good the camera is picking that up, but what I have to do here is you need to hit some communication with the OBD, the scan tool. Sometimes they don't like to talk to you on the older system until you hit a command, and you can see my number 7, the blue light is flashing, if you guys can pick that up. All I did is just went into the scan tool and trying to communicate with engine computer, and you can see my blue light is flashing there. There you go. Okay, so that's one way to tell if the communication is happening. So now we know the communication is happening on number 7 pin. Okay, number 7 usually is a K-line communication. That's what they call it. A lot of older GM vehicle used to use that, right? Around 2000, early 2000 GM vehicle. Number 7 is a K-line communication. It's dual 12-volt K-line communication. Okay, let's carry on here. Some chats. Okay, there's no more chat coming in. So hit the thumbs up button, guys. Hit the thumbs up button. Okay, so now we know how it is communicated. So on the OBD plug, you can have, you know, depending on the networking system they're using in the car, you could have communication coming on pin 7, sometime pin 2, sometime pin 4, CAN bus is on 6 and 14, I believe. I could be wrong, I need to double check. 6 and 14. And pin 15, 16 is always going to be, 16 is always going to be power supply, and pin 4 and 5, I believe, is going to be ground. So, but I'll show you on the board. If the audio, video, everything good, we can go onto the board and we can discuss about it real quick. Okay. Let me just fix this board camera on the board there. Okay, so we got my computer. I got a picture here that I was making to make everything easy. So this is pretty much the whole CAN bus system that they have been using and they've used in the past, and they still continue to use in the automotive. There are a few here that are not listed maybe, but they're not so very common. But this is pretty much every communication network that they use in vehicle. Okay, I'll quickly let you guys have a look at this, and then I'll discuss about it. Okay. Okay, now you can see there's a CAN bus, there's a K line, there's an L line, you got J1850, we got LIN bus, FlexRay, MOST, Ethernet. These are pretty much the most common and pretty much overall everything that they use on automotive. Okay, can everyone see that picture on your screen good? Joshua has sent me $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Josh. That heaps, Josh. I will go and blow that up in something not very productive. Thank you so much, brother. Can everyone see my picture on the screen very good? Okay, if it's blurry, if you can't read, just let me know and I'll try to fix it, guys. Okay. Okay, let's start with the OBD plug right at the top here, guys. Okay, let me just take a screenshot here real quick, and then I'll probably will be able to mark it for you exactly what I'm looking at here. Okay, so we got the screenshot right at the top here, guys, right? So this is my OBD2 plug, right here, OBD2 plug. And the OBD2 plug, this is universal, okay? So this is the compliance, the automotive, association or whatever you want to call it, organization. They have clearly made this rule for the car manufacturers to have this communication line on the certain pin on the OBD plug like that, okay? So in every car, you'll have the same exact pin for the communication. Now pin 2 and has the J1850 bus. Pin 10 will have J1850 bus negative. Pin 4 and 5 is my chassis and signal ground. Pin 16 is going to be always going to be my positive 12 volt, right? And you got pin 7, which is the K line. We got pin 15 is going to be L line, pin 14 going to be my CAN bus low, and pin 6 going to be my CAN bus high. If the manufacturer choose to use the other missing, see there's few missing pins here, they can use that to use for other communication. The car may have 2, maybe 3 communication lines coming into the OBD plug. That's very possible as well, and they can choose to use those extra pin for other types of communication as well. Okay, so basically this rule, this compliance is set there for the scan tool to talk to the car. So the Automotive Association organization wants manufacturer to make the OBD plug there, so our scan tool as a technician or whoever needs to use the OBD plug to get into the car data and all that, so they can get into it. That's why the rule and compliance is there. Okay, they got the name here. You can see ISO 9141, SAE J1850. You got ISO 5765. That's just the name for the rules, the compliance that they set for the manufacturer. So don't worry about the numbers, reading and remembering those numbers. We don't really care. All you need to know is CAN bus, is it a LIN bus, is it a K line, that's all you got to remember here. Okay, now going back to here, and then let's go to my K line, which is in this car we are working on today, is the K line system, right? So that's what we saw on the K line. You see 12 to 0 volt, around 10 to 12 volt signal. Okay, it's a square wave signal. You can see down here it's not very zoomed out, but it is a square wave. If you zoom it out, a longer time base, you'll see a square wave like we saw on the, I don't think I have this saved on the scope here, but that's what we saw on this vehicle we're working on today, the K line communication, which is coming on my K line is pin number 7 right here. You can see up there it says K line, right? So that's what we're dealing with today on this GM. And it says from 2000 to 2004, Asian, European, USA, most manufacturers used to use that K line. Not only that, they still using K line till today as well on, vehicle for not very important modules, not very important, not very fast, signal system. Okay. Okay. Now it's got a slow communication. K line is a very, very slow communication. It's 10 kilobits per second. So that's the maximum speed they're gonna run on. So 10 kilobits of data they can transfer on K line, which is just one wire system, which we saw. So basically all you do is put your connector on pin 7, right? Your scope or meter, and then ground, right? And you're gonna see that signal like this. That's what we saw today. So this, every packets of data is the communication happening. So like we saw as well, we need most of the time we need the scan tool to send a ping, to get the receive the data back. Otherwise module will not talk to you, and you might not see any signal on your scope until your scan tool actually wants to receive the data. So that's always a good tip to know that. Okay, that is K-line. It's early 2000 sort of vehicle, Asian, European, USA, everything. Okay, I got some comment here. Let me just read through that comment. Josh, you're gonna pretend to be the real Josh in chat or what? And Josh says, I am an older, so I can. Okay, they're just mucking around. That's no problem. Okay, so that is the K-line. Like any point, if you guys have any question and if you don't understand, just send comment, and then I will try and explain to you guys what's happening. Okay. All right, let's go back to my screen there. Okay, that's K-line. Okay, now after the K-line, we also got the very older generation, GM cars. They use VPW, which is variable pulse width, J1850. And this gonna have a 6 to 7 volts, almost square wave, like this example I'm showing you under here. This is what the communication is gonna look like on an older GM type vehicles, okay? And its maximum speed on this communication line is 10 kilobytes per second as well, and it's one wire, and it's on OBD pin 2. You're gonna find the communication on OBD pin 2, okay, right there. So that is called J1850 VPW communication. All right, so it's right here, it says 6 to 7 volt, almost square. Okay, almost square. It's not very square like a square wave, but it's almost square wave. That's what it's gonna look like. Then we also got J1850 PWM, pulse width modulation type signal network here. So this is actually two wire system on the same number 2 and number 10. So on VPW they only use number 2 pin, but on the PWM they use 2 and 10. Okay, and the 2 and 10, you're gonna have a high, obviously positive, and the negative low side, right? So the high side is going to go from 0 volt to 4.5 volt roughly. It's a square wave, and they're gonna have a mirror image like a CAN bus would do. Mirror image on the high and the low. So the high voltage is going to go from 0 to 4.5 volt, and the low voltage is going to go from 5 volt down to about 0.5 volt. Okay, so this is what the signal is going to look like. Okay, this is not very zoomed out, but one you can see from 5 volt right here is going down. So this is going to be your low, 5 to 0.5, okay, low signal on that PWM network, and this one's going from 0 up towards 4.5, 5 volt there. Okay, that's going to your high signal. So it's exactly like the CAN bus, but much slower. The maximum speed on them is 40 kilobytes per second, and not always the case, but possibly they're going to have a twisted wire. Two communication wire are going to be twisted, like the CAN bus system, and it's used on older Ford cars. So VPW is for old GM vehicles, and PWM is for old Ford vehicles. Okay, so this is what the VPW, PWM, and the K line is going to look like. So now we covered the pin 2, pin 10. We also covered the pin 7, which is the K line, right? Now let's move on to L line. Sometimes they also use L line, right? So L line, you're going to find it on pin 15. Okay, so L line is to turn the module on, module turn on signal, it says. Okay, it's optional. Not always they're going to use it. Sometimes they can use it on automotive, right? And it's a unidirectional, so they can only transfer data one way only. They can't send and receive. They can only send or receive. Okay, they cannot. This is unidirectional. Whereas the K line and every other network we talked about, they can receive and send. Okay, so two ways. But the L line is unidirectional, means only one way the data can travel. Okay. Now the maximum speed on that is 200 kilobytes per second. It's a one-wire system, single-wire system. And most of the time they're used to download software to the vehicle's ECU at high speed rate during system initialization. So what he's saying is the manufacturers can use that communication line to maybe do the software programming and all that on the ECU. Okay, they're not really for vehicle communication. It's kind of, it is, but it's not like K line where all the modules can talk to each other, receive and send data. Okay, L line most of the time purely used for manufacturer to download and upload data and whatnot. Okay, so that's what you're gonna find on pin 15. Okay, now let's move on to CAN bus. So you can see I have a little bit more on the CAN bus. The CAN bus is a very common network type they use on automotive lately, right? Anywhere from 2007, 8 and up, most vehicle will have CAN bus system, right? And they can be arranged in parallel or series arrangement. And CAN bus, as you probably already know, this is very common, so a lot of people do know about the CAN bus. They can go from high, they can have high and low. Obviously on the pin you can see the high is on pin 6 and the low signal is on pin 14, right? The high signal will go from 2.5 volt to 3.5 volt, and the low signal will go from 2.5 down to 1.5 volt, like you can see on the example here. So 2.5, 3.5 to 2.5, right? So it goes from 2.5 upwards 3.5 square wave, right? And on the low side you can see it goes from 2.5 down to about 1.5. So this is high and this is the low signal on CAN bus, and they are mirror each other. So the high is going to look exactly like the low, just like looking in the mirror. Okay, and they usually are the two twisted wires. The CAN bus wires usually are twisted together. Okay, that's what you're going to see. Let me just see what's happening in the chat here. Doesn't look like many people are still watching. I understand it's getting late. All right, the chat's gone quiet. That's all good. Let's go back onto the board. Okay, so we're talking about CAN bus, right? So parallel and series arrangement. So what that means, before I jump into it, let's just talk about 120 ohm terminal resistors too. So what that means is CAN bus going to have two terminating resistors, right? So on pin 6 and pin 14, where the high and low on the OBD plug is, if you put, ohm meter to check the resistance, right, you're going to see 60 ohm there. So that usually means the circuit is complete, right? So that's a quick way to sort of check, okay, if everything is intact in the circuit, right? So the end of the transmission of the data line going to have 120 ohm terminal resistor 2, and they are on parallel circuit, meaning you're going to see 60 ohm when you check on pin 6 and 14. Okay, now let's move on to parallel and series arrangement. Before that, I'll quickly show you this picture right here on the corner. So this is just a zoom out view of this signal, high and low. You can see going from 2.5 volt to 3.5 volt high, and then 2.5 to 1.5 volt low. They just mirror each other, exactly same looking on high and low. Okay, and some cars you'll see the CAN bus. This is a CAN bus, high and low, but at the end of every data packet, right, you'll see this high spike. Sometimes you can be mistaken saying, okay, there is an issue here, this high spike, but that's completely okay. This is just like a full stop after the sentence. So meaning this is one packet of data, full stop. So that's pretty normal on some cars if you see that high spike at the end of the data packet. Okay. Now the high speed on this one goes 1 megabytes per second. That's the maximum speed of data transfer on CAN bus system. On the low speed, 100 kilobytes per second. Okay, so what that means is on a CAN bus system they can have high and low speed as well. Okay, so a lot of the GM car uses high speed and low speed CAN bus, so they could have a different rate of data transfer as well. Okay, let's talk about the parallel and the series arrangement. So what I mean by that is how they put the modules together in the circuit. Okay, that's what it means. I'm just going to show you quickly on the board. So parallel, on a parallel circuit, let's say this is your high and this is your low, right? So this is your high and this is your low. CAN bus high and low, right? So what they can do is they can use a parallel arrangement. So this is one module. Let's call it an ECU. So they can add another module here, right? Let's call it a TCM. They can add another module there, right? Let's call it a ABS. Okay, this is a parallel arrangement on the CAN bus system. Okay, now on a series arrangement, on a series arrangement, what they do is, let's say this is your high and low, right? Okay, this is, let's say, one module, ECU, right? ECU. What they're going to have is they're going to have two high and low wires going in and two high and low wires coming out. Okay, let's say this is your another module, ABS. Okay, and you can continue down the line. So let's call it a TCM here. Okay, you can keep going here. Let's call it an airbag, SRS. Okay, so this is the series arrangement. Okay, now when it comes to diagnosis, okay, this can make a huge difference. Okay, and I'll show you why it can make a huge difference when it comes to diagnosis. Let's say you don't have a communication on this system. Let's add one more module here anyway. Let's add a SRS. Let's add one more module here again. You got a let's go TCM. Okay, so if you got a no communication issue with the ABS, let's say your ABS has no communication in this case, right? Everything else will still talk to your scan tool. You can have scan tool talking, communicating with your ECU, airbag, TCM, everything. If all the communication line, everything is good. If the ABS module has a problem, you can still talk to everything else. Okay, now on series design, let's say if your ABS is bad, okay, when you hook up the scan tool, you can talk to ECU. You cannot talk to ABS because ABS is bad, and you can't talk to TCM, and you cannot talk to airbag module because after the broken module, the damaged module without communication, you're not going to have any communication in any of the other module after that. So when you look at the wiring diagram, you can sort of tell, okay, I don't have communication with 3 modules here, which one is the problem? A lot of the time you go down the line from the OBD plug and then see which ones is communicating, which one is not communicating, and find the module that is not communicating, and everything else after that you'll have no communication. That way you know, okay, maybe the ABS is the problem here because I can't communicate after that. Now I have seen some arrangement where even if the system is like this, internally they wired the communication line differently. So even if you see 4 wires going into, let's say 2 going in, 2 coming out, even if you got 2 wires going in, 4 wires going into it, you have a broken module, you can still talk to other modules though. Okay, there is arrangements like that as well when it comes to networking. Okay, that's your CAN bus system. All right, I hope a few people are watching. I don't see any chats coming up. It's all right. Okay, let's carry on down the line. So that's your CAN bus communication. All right, let's move on to your LIN bus. So LIN bus is pretty much similar to K-line. If you look at the LIN bus signal right here on the corner here, I have got an example. From battery voltage almost just above 0 volt square wave signal, right? It almost looks like my K-line signal. There's not much different there when it comes to signal. Okay, so LIN bus is local interconnect network. And it's about 12 to about 0.1 volt signal, almost similar to K-line, right? Now the difference between K-line and LIN bus is usually used for the output to operate something. K-line is more like the networking only, receiving and sending data out, but LIN bus is more like it's got a function to do, it's got output to produce, right? So that's what they use LIN bus for, and a lot of the time it's only 1 wire, 20 kilobytes per second speed, and it's similar to K-line. In 1 wire, K-line is so LIN bus. You're not going to find it on OBD plug. However, LIN bus is internal networking. Okay, it's not for our scan tool communication. So you're not going to find it on the OBD2 plug. So LIN bus happens within the network. And what I said is it's got a job to do, an output to produce. I'll give you an example. So on a HVAC, your heating and ventilation AC system, your mirror, your windows, door, seat control, they use this LIN bus system to operate those components, multiple components housed in one unit a lot of the time, using LIN bus system, okay? So LIN bus going to have a master and a slave module, okay? Master and a slave module. So basically the master is going to tell the slave what to do, okay? That's how a LIN bus system works, okay? Just to give you example on LIN bus system, let's go onto the board here real quick. So you're going to have a master, let's call this a master, right? And you're going to have a slave. Let's call this is a slave module, right? So let's give you example of a side door mirror, okay? On the side door mirror on a lot of the vehicle, you'll see many components in that one housing, right? So you got the obviously mirror has to be tilted up and down, left and right. So you got probably one or two motor to do that. You also got the folding. When the car turns off or on, the mirror comes in, you know, folds back into the glass, your window, and folds back out. So there's your another motor there, right? You also have an indicator, side indicators. Sometimes it's on the mirror itself, side mirror itself. You also got some car has cameras on them probably. Some car has heater. On a cold weather, you know, maybe where the temperature can get really, really low, they will have a heater in the mirror to defrog, you know, the mirror, right? So you got many components in that one mirror, right? So to operate all those components, including motor, heater, you got indicators, everything, right? You're going to need a bunch of wires going into it to control all the things that you want to do, right, on that mirror. So it's going to get very messy. A lot of wirings and everything has to go through the door and up onto the mirror. So what they come up with is the LIN bus. So this is how they're going to operate. It's going to be less wire, but they can operate everything on that mirror. So let's call this is a mirror, right? So this is a mirror, side mirror. And this is your master. So let's say a body control module. It could be any module, how they want to arrange it, but let's call it a body control module. So the body control module, BCM, is the master. It's going to tell the slave what to do. So where does the BCM going to get the signal from? Maybe sometimes automatically, right? Sometimes the driver has to press some button on the door to fold the mirror in and out or tilt the mirror up and down, whatever. Indicator on, you got to turn the indicator on. So all that signal, the manual physical buttons you're pressing, the signal is going to go to BCM. Right? BCM going to get the driver's signal, driver's, you know, command, whatever driver wants to do. And the BCM is going to send a signal to the mirror. Let's say one wire. LIN bus is a one wire system. It's a very slow data transfer, slow network. They don't need it very fast because it's not a very critical component that it has to be on like that, like very, very quickly, or, you know, not very, very important safety stuff here. So they can have slow network to run those type of components. So this is a LIN bus, L-I-N, local interconnect network, right? LIN bus. And we say it's got square wave, you know, 12 gigavolt square wave. You're going to see something like that, right? Something like that anyway. So what BCM is going to do is it's going to send different types of signal for different job. Okay, so if BCM wants mirror to turn the indicator on the mirror, it's going to send a certain type of signal. So if BCM wants to mirror to, you know, tilt the window up, it's going to send a different type of signal. Okay, you can probably, because it's a slow signal, so you can probably see that on the scope if you put it in, and you can sort of tell the different, okay, this is the signal for this is the signal for that job. But it's not important. As long as the signal is getting there, we don't care. Our diagnosis is done. Okay, if the signal is getting there but the mirror is refusing to function, more than likely the mirror is faulty. We can't just replace one component in the mirror most of the time, so you probably buy the whole thing, right? Now BCM is a master excuse me, module. The slave mirror is the slave module. So not only that, they're going to also have a little module in there, little computer. Let's call it some module, right? Excuse me. Module there to do all that, okay? Because just sending signal is not going to be enough. It's going to have its own module to actually do what it's supposed to do. So the module might have wires going to the indicator. We might have wires going into the motor for the tilting. You might have a heater, right? So internally, they're going to be connected to different circuits. But externally, we're going to have a LIN bus, and we're going to have powers and ground, okay? So from the fuse, maybe, the power is going to come in, 12 volt. Maybe the earth, okay, you might have a earth coming in, because you need powers and earth to operate all that components in there. So LIN bus is not going to carry power on earth, right? So LIN bus is just a command. So you got the powers and ground all the time there permanently, and the BCM is sending signal to do whatever it needs to do, like command, which is our LIN bus signal right here, and this module, the slide module, going to do whatever the BCM wants it to do. Simple as that. So when it comes to diagnosis, all you do is check your power, check your ground, obviously, and check if there's a signal coming in. When you turn the indicator on, press the button for the mirror, whatever you're doing on that mirror, make sure there is a signal going into the mirror. If you see power, earth, and signal, you're done. The mirror is bad, maybe the module is bad, whatever the case, you know, you probably have to buy the whole complete mirror anyway. Okay, so that's how the LIN bus system works. So basically, let's say I got a person standing there. Let's call this another person. This is a person, this is another person programmed to do what I tell him to do, tell this person to do, right? So let's say I'm going to tap once, and this going to do turn the lights on for me. If I'm going to tap twice like this is going to turn the motor on for me. If I tap it 3 times, maybe this is going to turn the heater on for me. So whatever is programmed in this robot, let's say it's a robot, right? It's programmed to know 1 tap means do this. 2nd tap means turn this component on. 3rd tap means turn this component on. Okay? Basically, that's what it's doing. So I'm the master, the robot is the slave, and the tap is the LIN bus. Okay? So 1 tap LIN bus means, okay, turn the indicator on. And the slave robot here is going to turn the indicator on for me. Now I've tapped it 3 times. The robot knows, okay, it's time to turn the motor on for the window tilting, whatever the case is. Okay, that's what a LIN bus is. And like I said, it doesn't come to the OBD plug. Okay, it's internal. So it's an internal network. It's not really for scan tool communication. It's internal. And sometimes the slave module, let's say in this case the mirror has a computer module, whatever, right? The slave module, you're not going to see that on the scan tool either sometimes. Okay, you will see the BCM on the scan tool. You can read, communicate, whatever, and you can do all the BCM stuff in the scan tool, but you might not even show up. This module might never communicate with your scan tool, and you'll never see that module on the list. Okay, that is very possible as well, because it's internal networking, not for scan tool. Okay, Prasanna says if you do Arduino, I think I've heard about that, some kind of device system. You can easily understand about COM protocols. Yeah, I know. I don't need to get into too details, Prasanna. As a technician, we don't need to get into too much detail. As long as we know what the signal looks like, what the voltage level should be, and what it does, that's all it matters to us as a technician. We don't need to get into the details, how they built it, what they're going to do, none of that. So thank you for that comment, but yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one here. So LIN bus is very, very easy, guys. That's what it is, LIN bus. All right, so next one down the line here, we got flex ray. Okay, let's talk about the flex ray. FlexRay is another system of networking in the vehicle they have been using, excuse me, for a while. But you probably see this on a lot of high-end vehicles. It's slowly coming to the mainstream, but I think they usually use on high-end sort of luxury cars at the moment, right? So FlexRay basically is pretty similar to CAN bus again. It's got two wires, right? And they mirror each other. So the high sort of goes from 2.5 volt to 2.9 volt to 2.1 volt. So what I mean by that is it's going to have 3 voltage level here. So basically 2.5 is a basic base point, right? So it can go up to 2.9 volt, and it can also come down to about 2.1, 2.2 volt. And then you see the messages here, communication, and it goes back to 2.5 volt. So you can have 3 different voltage level here on FlexRay compared to CAN bus. CAN bus only got 2 voltage level, right? FlexRay going to have 3 voltage level. Okay, same thing, mirror image on the low side, which is going to be 2.5 to 2.1 to 2.9. So that's what the FlexRay is. It's pretty similar to CAN bus, but a little bit of difference on voltage there. And it's a very, very fast signal, much more faster than CAN bus. Okay, some of the new technology, some of the new components they use on vehicles, maybe ADAS system, maybe, you know, other traction control, whatever the safety related and you know, very fast components in the vehicle, they probably use the FlexRay. And they can use the FlexRay and CAN bus at the same time. Okay, on the same vehicle you'll find 2 different networks as well. So they'll use the CAN bus for a little bit not very fast communication for some modules, and then they'll use the FlexRay for some special high-speed components and system. Okay, that's what FlexRay is. And it's got the maximum speed of 10 megabytes per second, let's say, compared to we have high speed 1 megabytes for CAN bus maximum speed, and we got 10 megabytes per second for FlexRay. So that's what FlexRay will look like. Okay, now let's jump into the MOST. Okay, the MOST, I don't have too much here. I've never really worked on it. To be honest, I don't even know what the signal look like. I've seen few examples, but until I've got my hands on it and experience it, I'm not gonna, you know, give out false information. So I'm not gonna talk about it too much on MOST. So the MOST means media oriented system transport. Okay, that's the full form of MOST. The MOST is usually used just for the media, so your radio, maybe navigation, you know, all that center display and center controls in the car, like your AC maybe, all that included in that media, okay, media unit. So usually they use that MOST system for networking there. So give you sort of example on MOST is, so let's say on a system you have, let's say you have radio, right? On the radio you're going to have the panel where you can press the buttons and turn the volume up and down and change the modes, audio, go to FM, whatever. So that button, the touch screen, or you know, whatever you want to call it, let's say in this case the touch screen or buttons, right? Those control panel, okay, let's say control panel. And then you're going to have what? Maybe speakers, maybe amplifier. So you're going to have an amplifier, let's say module or speaker module, whatever you want to call it. You might have a screen, right? The things that's going to display on the screen. Whatever you're doing, let's say if you're pressing the button on the display, you can see if you're pressing the volume button, the volume bars may be coming down or going up, something like that. So this is the display, let's say. Then you're going to have, let's say, the actual main media, let's say CD player or whatever you want to call it, the CD player, right? So there's going to have multiple components on that radio alone, right? It looks like one unit, but they're going to have multiple different modules attached to that one unit to make everything work, right? So what they're going to have is they're going to have this all connected via a networking system, obviously, right? So they need to talk to each other to work efficiently. So everything is connected here. If you press something on the control panel, the display has to show such thing. The CD players may have to do its thing, and the speakers may have to do its thing, right? So they're all connected. So this is what the MOST means, okay? This is the networking system on MOST. It could be, fiber, optical fiber. It could be just a copper wires, however they do it. I'm not very familiar with it, and I don't think we need to that much worry about this MOST system. And the reason why I think we don't need to worry about it is because this is all internal anyway, okay? So this is all internal. So if there's a problem with the radio is not working or whatever's happening in the radio, if you want to replace, you probably replace the whole thing anyway, because you're not going to buy one individual component. They're not going to sell it to you. The dealers might sell you the whole thing, right? So there's no reason how they're talking to each other internally, is there? So that's why it's not very important. We just need to know what it is, but I don't think we'll ever even test it. We're not going to break into the radio and test that circuit. It could be physical circuit. It could be connected on the, circuit board. They might not have a physical wiring. Okay, so how are you going to test that? We're not engineers. We don't know that. So if there's a problem, maybe send the radio away to the engineers to test it out. Okay, so that's MOST. Now, if the scan tool need to talk to the MOST, talk to this, infotainment or media computer, then they might have a actually CAN bus network going into other module. So if it's connected to, let's say, ECU or BCM, it might have a CAN bus going out anyway. So within the media infotainment system, they use the MOST, but outside of that, I don't think they use it anyway. So we can do all our communication testing here on the CAN bus anyway, rest inside the media entertainment system. We don't care, and we don't probably need to know how to check this network anyway. So this is my take on the MOST. That's why I don't have too much on the MOST on that picture I'm showing you. Excuse me. Okay, let's move on to something else here. What else we got? We talk about the MOST. Let's talk about the Ethernet, okay? So this is the Ethernet, DOIP, Diagnostic Over IP it's called. So DOIP. So this is getting a little bit popular on a lot of high-end luxury cars as well, expensive cars. So again, I don't have too much information in it. I haven't really, dealt with this type of networking issues on the vehicle so far. So I don't have the full explanation on how it works and what it does and what not. But I'll give you a short, brief explanation. So Ethernet is like home internet. How the home internet networking works, pretty much it works the same on the car as well. DOIP is a diagnostic over IP, so Ethernet. Now, if you heard about, let's say, down here on the picture, you can see you've got 3 cars We got computer, we got the tower here, internet tower maybe, computer here, whatever, right? So what is this showing you is how the Ethernet is used in the automotive these days. So let's say if you got, if you're working at the dealership, let's say you're working on a BMW dealership and you got a recall or from the BMW saying, okay, we need to update the software on the issue on this particular BMW models. So it's a dealer, right? So you might get many same cars to do the updates. They might have thousands of cars to do the updates, right? What they can do is they can book all the cars, let's say 10 cars that day, that needs exact same or software update or whatnot, and then they can put them in line at the parking lot, doesn't even need to come to the shop, and they can from their desk, from their table workshop, they can update all 10 cars at the same time using the Ethernet Wi-Fi. So that is also possible. That's what is showing down here on the picture. And you've heard about Tesla cars, they can do updates while you sleep, they call it, right? They say it. So basically what it means is as long as your car is connected to the Wi-Fi home internet in the garage, even if the ignition is turned off and everything, right? The Tesla company or car manufacturer can update your computers on the car like remotely. You don't physically, they don't have to connect anything to your car, a scan tool or anything like that. They can remotely update your cars, put a software and take the software out, whatever not, on the vehicle. So that's what it means by Ethernet, okay? It's like your phone, mobile phone, right? When you're sleeping, your mobile phone is on charge, it's connected to your Wi-Fi, right? And next morning you wake up and you'll see our new Android is downloaded, new version of security update is downloaded or whatnot, right? So similar things is happening in the automotive as well. So we'll probably see more and more later in the years to come that Ethernet is getting very popular as a networking on the car as well, okay? So that's everything on the networking. So far we talk about all the way from 1990s, which is your VPW and PWM, to K-line early 2000. We talk about the CAN bus, which come out about 2007-8, and they're still using it. We talk about LIN bus, what it does. We talk about FlexRay. We talk about MOST. We talk about Ethernet. Okay, last thing on this one is gateway. You probably already know what gateway is, but if you don't know, I'll just quickly go through that. So gateway, basically what it does is managing the data network, and it's kind of like a translator. Okay, that's probably not the right language for it, but it's basically is a translator. I'll just quickly show you on the board maybe, okay? Prasanna says, excuse me, Prasanna says first DOIP, diagnostic over IP, is used in aircraft. Yeah, most of the automotive stuff is, I think, come from aircraft anyway. So a lot of the time, like the ABS system on the cars is also derived, come from the airplane industry, right? So yeah, that's definitely very possible, right? Okay, I'll just show you what a gateway is, and then we go from there. Okay. So gateway usually is a module. It's inside a module. So let's say, in this case, I'm giving you an example of a Holden Cruise, let's say, right? The newer Holden Cruise, 2010-11 model. The gateway is actually the BCM, okay, in the BCM. So BCM has its own purpose why the BCM is there. Not only that, it also using BCM as a gateway as well. So a car can have multiple different network within, right? Within its network, right? So what I mean by that, so let's say you got a, let's say this is your OBD plug, right? Where you connect your scan tool. And then you got a BCM, and then let's say you got a ECU here, let's say you got ABS, I'm just giving example, okay? Let's say you got an audio module. You may have a hatchback module, airbag module, whatever not. Multiple modules, right? So, and we said the BCM is also a gateway, okay? Gateway module, right? So what gateway does, it manages the networking. So what I'm saying is, let's say the ECU, ABS, if they talk on CAN bus system, let's say they are on CAN bus network, right? They might come to BCM, right? Let's say this audio and hatchback is talking to my, talking to each other on, let's say, K-line network. Okay, they can still use K-line on the newer vehicle as well. They can have CAN bus and K-line in one vehicle. They can absolutely use that. They might have a flex ray. Let's say the airbag is working on a different types of network. Let's call it, I don't know, flex ray in this case, right? So they can have all this communication wire coming to the BCM. BCM is the gateway. Everything comes to BCM, right? Now, BCM's job is to translate those data. Okay, so CAN bus data cannot be, conveyed to flex ray data. Maybe they can K-line data could not be understood by CAN bus data, but they all need to talk to each other maybe, right? So what it does is it just translates that data between different networks, if they need to use that information. So if something, a message from the ECU that's coming in on a CAN bus network needs to go to, let's say, audio module, right? But audio is on K-line network. The BCM will translate that data so the audio module can understand, basically. That's what gateway module is. Not only that, gateway module can also send the data to OBD plug, right? That's when you connect your scan tool. Your scan tool might not be able to understand or read all the different types of network. So BCM will, translate all that data, maybe send it into one communication line for your scan tool to read, right? Sometimes the OBD tool can have multiple different protocols that you can talk on the scan tool. You could have a CAN bus, you could have a K-line on same vehicle. On a GM, you may have a high-speed CAN bus and a low-speed CAN bus as well. So they all go to BCM, and BCM arranges it and manages it and make it, translate it to other module to understand and whatnot. So that's the basic principle here. Okay, that's not very, engineering explanation, but that's just something easy to understand. So that's gateway. Okay, that's pretty much everything on the CAN bus. I think here, let me just quickly see. Yeah, I think we talked about everything here. So that's pretty much it. That's all you need to understand as a technician to do diagnosis and stuff. You just got to know what it is, how it works, where you can find it, the signal and whatnot, and then you should be able to do your diagnostics most of the time. Okay. All right, that's where we're at, guys. That's all I have on CAN bus system today. All right, I don't think anyone is still on the chat, so I might just leave it to that, and then we can do some other classes at some other time. No worries, guys. Thanks for joining in, and hope you guys enjoy that, and I'll see you next time. I don't see many people on the chat, so thank you guys anyway. Have a good night, and I'll catch you guys next time.